think one serious issue when it comes to money is a lot of us place too much value on money. Money is important. You know, I'm multiple businesses, hustle, always been that way, all of that. But even when you're down, you should still be good.
Yeah, you gotta have a value to life.
Exactly. The amount of money in your pocket shouldn't determine your whole self-worth and everything. Yeah.
Because you got a lot of the most richest people in the world are some of the most unhappy people in the world. You see so many of these rich people kill themselves. And it don't have nothing to do with money.
They never found the value to life. Right. It's all about.
It's about value. And older people will tell you that. Mm-hmm. You know, it'll be that 80-year-old dude, 70-year-old dude, and it comes down to quality of life. And you can't equate the money with happiness.
Right. I mean, that old dude will tell you don't spend your whole time. The old rich dude might even tell you don't spend your whole time chasing money, and you didn't care about your health, or you didn't care about your family, or something like that. It's a balance. I mean, money is important as hell, but it's not everything. Because
you can get all of this materialistic stuff that you equate with happiness. You can get all the way up there and realize you have nobody to spend it with. Exactly. It means nothing. And then the one thing that you cannot replace is time. So you can spend all of this time chasing this dollar and find out at the end of the road you have zero.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that's, kind of even the whole point of this conversation is why you stay broke. Sometimes all the stuff that we're talking about, you spend all that time chasing that dollar, you neglect everything, you wind up losing the money anyway because you lost your health or something like that. Now you got to pay, your insurance is only paying for so much. Or you neglected your family. Now you're getting ate up with child support. You know, and that's the irony of the whole thing. The whole cause of the destruction of your life is going to destroy those finances as well.
Yeah. So the secret to it all is balance.
Definitely. All of this kind of reminds me of, that episode of The Cosby Show. Y'all remember when Cliff was talking to Theo about the budget and all of that stuff that people got to do for real. A lot of times, we kind of think we got a grip on things, and because we might have got a raise or we're making a certain amount of money or something like that. But when you think about it, it's hard to live on what most people make. You figure, we'll do something real quick. You figure, for the sake of numbers, you make, let's say, 33 grand a year. That's roughly, after taxes, probably about $2,000 a month.
Yeah.
Okay. You got $2,000 a month. You feel okay? I can do a couple things with just $2,000 a month. I'm young. I can live off of it. I ain't had no kids or nothing. I can do something with just $2,000 a month. You get your own place, a car, and all of that, and think you about to do something. And this kind of shows you why you'll still be broke even though you think you're making decent money. You make $2,000 a month, as we already said. Your rent is $600. That leaves us with $1,400. You got a car note. Car note is, we'll say, $350 a month. That leaves you with $1050. All right, you have insurance for that car. That's another $100 a month.
Right.
All right, so that takes us down to $950.
Yeah.
You got the apartment. You got bills that go along with the apartment. You got your utilities, your gas, electric. You got your cable, maybe a phone, possibly. That's another $200 a month.
On the low side.
On the low side, because if you got even your cell phone bill might be $100, $150 a month. But we'll say $200. That's very low. That's $750. You got food. You ain't even ate yet. That's $350. We'll say about $350, even if you're eating off the dollar menu all day, 3 times a day, 3 meals. That's about $10. That's at least $300 a month right there.
Yeah.
So we'll say $350 for food. We got $400 left. All right, you got your car, right? You kick it a little bit and all of that. You got to get the back and forth to work. You got to put gas in it.
Mm-hmm.
That's $200. We are left with $200 left.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we got to have toiletries, deodorant, toilet paper, soap, all that stuff for the crib. We left with $100. You got $100 left.
For the month.
And you ain't never pay your bills.
So basically what you just described is basically base living, right? You haven't had any fun, you haven't done any kicking it, you haven't taken any vacations or even long weekends doing anything.
You went on a date.
Ain't got no woman.
So let's say you just have a habit of drinking.
Right. Don't tell me you drink when you smoke.
Yeah, so let's say the average person goes out to eat and drinks maybe 3 or 4 times a week, a month. 50 times, $50 each time, that's $200. So that $200 is really closer to $300 after taxes. So you could throw a $3,000 pay raise on their annual salary, and that'll just cover their drinking.
Right. You still ain't bought a pair of shoes or a shirt or a coat.
Yeah, if
you
they're
naked.
smoking, you
Right. You naked. You out here naked, smoking and drinking.
Naked, smoking and drinking at the club.
And you go to jail for that shit.
So just with what you mentioned, you add smoking and drinking to it, and you're talking about making 40 grand a year and still not having any money for yourself.
Exactly. You know. And you thought you were doing good because you was making 40 grand a year. You was used to making 20 or 18.
Right. You
still ain't doing nothing. And don't have a kid. It's like Cliff did with Theo.
Theo, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard in my life.
You know, it's a little harder than you always think, but until you put it on paper.
I was about to say, you have to write it down.
You gotta write it down.
You mentally doing your finances, you be like, I'm good, I'm at 2,000. You gotta subtract that.
Right.
Yeah, you gotta break that down.
In your head, you balling.
Right.
Yeah. You're like, I got 40 grand.
Right.
I'm balling.
That money will go through your hands so quick, you won't know what hit you.
And one of the biggest things is taxes. I know that's one thing that we always talk about is taxes.
Yeah, if you read Rich Dad Poor Dad, you know, Robert Kiyosaki breaks it down. And most tax accountants or advisors will tell you that the average American spends 50% of their income on taxes. Everybody thinks about payroll tax. If you make a decent wage, you're going to spend at least almost 30%, 25 to 33% on taxes.
Right.
But they don't think about the fact that if you own a home,
property tax.
You got property tax. If you buy anything,
sales tax.
You got sales tax. So by the time you incorporate property tax and sales tax, you have just spent at least 50% of your income on taxes.
Gotcha.
Now, there's a way to flip it. You know what I mean? You can actually start flipping the game and kind of making that money work for you, but that's when you start working on things that are going to change your tax status in general. You know, one of the things people don't know about owning a business is you pay your taxes last after you spend all your money. You know, let's say 2 people into a room, they both make 50 grand a year. One person owns their own business, the other person doesn't. They work for somebody. That person who works for somebody is going to pay about $16,000 in taxes before they even see that money. That person who owns his own business is going to spend all his money accordingly. He may have 20 grand left and he'll pay taxes on that 20 grand. He'll also pay a lower interest rate because it's based off of that 20 and the fact that he owns a business. You know, there's a guy named Sammy Hooks. He wrote quite a few books on taxes. And he talks about how the U.S. government is like the biggest bookie in the world. You know, they will do everything in their power to help you pay them for the rest of their life. You know, why wouldn't, if you were trying to get a job to pay me 30% of your income for the rest of your life, why would I hinder you in the process of trying to get that job? You know, so when you're opening a business, the government rewards people who are trying to make it for themselves because they know should you succeed, you're going to be paying them for the rest of their life.
And the people that work for you as well.
Exactly.
They're going to be paying more than you are.
Exactly.
When I was a mortgage broker, the lowest tax man in the building was the owner. We were all paying between 30 and 40%, and he was paying 15%.
You know, speaking of Robert Kiyosaki, he wrote a book, Business of the 21st Century, which is network marketing, which is something I do. So, and he was talking about taxes in there. He was talking about the advantages of having a network marketing business. One of the advantages is he pays, because he owns a business, he ain't in network marketing, but if you have a business, he pays lower, and he's in the lower tax bracket than people that work for him.
His employees,
He paid like 16%, they paying 30%. And that's just from owning the business. You can do that just through network marketing. Just a simple from-home business, you can get the same tax breaks as somebody have a brick-and-mortar business.
Yeah, and then certain industries, you get even deeper tax breaks, like real estate, for instance. I don't get taxed on my real estate income as long as I'm continuing to pursue real estate. You know, a lot of people, you know, the Republicans had this huge debate about the government and double taxation because, you know, they do a state tax now for people who die. But that really came about because a lot of people acquired the money without paying any taxes. If I buy a house, let's say I make 60 grand off of it, right? After I buy it, flip it, sell it. If I put a good amount of that money toward another house, I don't pay taxes that year. And I can continue to do this. I can still spend money and call it business expenses, but as long as I'm continuing to acquire property, I never pay taxes on that money. So the whole estate tax thing came from the fact that people were basically getting all the way through life without paying taxes because they just continue to reinvest and continue to reinvest. I mean, when you have a business, you can write off just about anything that you can declare business related. Vacations, dinner. The only dinners you can't write off are dinners with your spouse. Right. You know, dinners with your friends. Golf. That's why a lot of businesses like to golf so much, because a lot of people just golf away their tax money.
Yep. I mean, I think a lot of this, you know, talking about taxes, and even some of the books that you recommended are I would definitely recommend for people to go out and get and read. I think a lot of it is about being able to find the right advice. Sometimes people listen to the wrong people. You have people that who've never been where you're trying to go that are trying to tell you this is what you need to do about your taxes, and they've never done anything but go to or the one with the little dude, the $5 an hour dude with the Statue of Liberty suit on.
Liberty tax.
Right. That's all they've ever done as far as taxes, but they're trying to tell you what you should do. That's somebody that's paid the maximum amount of taxes every year for their entire life, trying to tell you what you need to do. Yeah. You know, even an accountant, or even a lot of times just that self-education, just getting on the internet and even getting on YouTube can open the doors for you to know about things that you wouldn't have had any exposure to otherwise. That somebody else might be telling you was crazy for saying.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's an interesting thing, like even when you think about how taxes affect you, anybody heard of the 20-year test? Basically, if you take $1, double it every year, in 20 years you'll have over $1 million. They did a study and they added taxes into the equation, and I think you ended up with just over 20 grand. Okay. You get me? So you go from turning it into $1 million, paying taxes on it, it reduces itself all the way down to 20 grand. Wow. Paying regular payroll income tax. I'm pretty sure it was around 20 grand. Yeah.
That's hurtful.
Yeah. I mean, it just shows you the power, though. What did Einstein say about compound interest? It was the greatest law known to man, or force known to man, or something like that. Exactly. That's really, you know, when it comes to taxes, you know, finances, period, I think one big gray area for a lot of people that they don't even know what's gray is buying a house. Oh yeah. I know you used to do mortgages and stuff like that for a while, so I know you're pretty informed with the housing game.
You know, the funny thing about real estate is, you know, a lot of people like to say that the best investment you can make, or best investment you can make is buying a home. And to me, that's just bullshit.
It's not an investment.
It's not an investment. Homes are like necessary liabilities. Right. They're like kids that never grow up. I mean, even if you pay it off in 30 years, that's exactly when it starts falling apart, and you end up putting so much into it just to keep it afloat. But and then you have to take into the equation too that a lot of times they qualify you for more than you can actually afford. Like when I was a mortgage broker, they did your debt to income based off of very few things. Debt to income basically being what they say that you can afford to buy based on what you make. For one, it was done off your gross, not your net. So everybody knows if you make 50 gross, you don't even make 40 net. Right? But then they didn't include student loans. I do believe they include student loans now, but they didn't include and I still don't think they include cell phone bills.
I'm pretty sure they
utilities. The only thing they really include are revolving debt, mostly to show up on your credit report. And so you're talking about they only include your current mortgage or whatever the case may be, your credit cards, student loans, and whatever actual loans that you have. They're not talking about the gas bill, they're not talking about the electric bill, they're not talking about the cell phone bill, they're not talking about all those other debts that could be on there. That
and those are essential services.
Yeah.
So you would think they would include them. You have to pay them.
And so what ends up happening is people end up buying things because they were told they could afford it. In reality, they can't. You know, and so they end up putting themselves in a real bad situation. You know, so one of the things that you have to do when it comes to that is you just got to trust your gut. Even if the expert is telling you that you can afford it, if you know you can't, you know you can't. You know, there's you got to remember in those situations, especially back then, the expert got paid based on how big of a house they could sell you. You know, so you automatically have a conflict of interest.